It's now from Capitol Hill, member of the Armed Services Committee, Senator Tim Kaine. Senator Kaine, good to see you this morning.
Hey, Willie, great to be with you.
Well, for people who wondered whether or not there's a clear strategy for defeating ISIS inside Syria, I'm not sure yesterday's hearing offered much reassurance. What was your take as you walked out of that meeting?
Well, first, Senator McCain is exactly right, and Willie, he's been making that point since last September, saying if we're going to train folks to fight ISIL in Syria, what if they get attacked by the Assad regime? And he's yet to get a clear answer. He's absolutely right. We can't insert trained fighters back into that theater without giving them protection if the Assad regime attacks them. So he was right to make that point. 60 trainers is way too small. On the other hand, we are achieving some significant gains against ISIL in Syria. There was a front-page article in the Washington Post yesterday, largely in the north because of the valiant cooperation between the Kurds in northern Syria and American airstrikes. And so in the province of Raqqa, which is the home, that's the capital of the ISIL caliphate that they proclaimed, we've really got them on the run. So in the Kurdish areas in both Iraq and Syria, actually there's some strong gains. But with the Sunnis, both the Sunni opposition in Syria and the Sunnis in western Iraq, there's still a lot of work to be done. I was there last week in both Turkey, right on the Syrian border, and Iraq. There's still a lot of work to do with Sunni communities to show these American support for their effort against ISIL.
Senator Kaine, Ayman here. I just wanted to ask you, the comments that Senator McCain was making cut to a bigger picture, which is the administration not willing to take on the Assad regime directly, and by backing any Syrian fighter that is coming under attack by the Assad regime, would mean that the U.S. gets involved. Do you see any potential shift for the U.S. in getting directly involved against the Assad regime and not just ISIS? That has been a demand of the Syrian opposition from day one.
Ayman, it's been a demand of the Syrian opposition, and it's also been a demand of Turkey. Turkey has said, look, we'll cooperate with you more if you make it official U.S. policy that you want to topple the Assad regime. The administration's been unwilling to do it, and I don't see them changing right now and saying it's the official position of the U.S. to topple the Assad regime for two reasons. First, I think President Obama, and this is my intuition, they haven't told me this, but I think he's made the determination that it should not be official U.S. policy to change the regime of another nation. It's been official policy in the past during many administrations, but I think they've maybe learned something and they've decided that should not be official policy. And second, there are grave questions, and we dug into this last week when we were in Gaziantep, Turkey, right on the Syrian border. There are grave questions about what would come after an Assad regime, and would we see something similar to what we saw after post-Gaddafi, post-Saddam Hussein, post-Hosni Mubarak, significant challenges that would continue to roil the internal aspects of Syria. So what we have done instead is we've tried to work with partners to find the moment when there could be a negotiated political end to the government and a next move forward. And that, in all likelihood, would lead to Assad being gone, but some elements of the Alawi minority that is currently governing possibly remaining in place to run basic municipal services that would be needed by the Syrian people.
You said yesterday, Senator Harold Ford, good morning. You said yesterday that Congress has placed a higher priority on the 2011 defense caps, presumably sequestration they have on defeating ISIL. What do your colleagues think of that, and what do we have to do on the budget side to fix that?
Yeah, Harold, I sat through that hearing and I heard a lot of griping about the administration's policy, and I said, look, I've got gripes too, but Congress hasn't really earned the right to criticize, because there's two things we're supposed to do. We're supposed to authorize war. Today's the 11th month of the war, $3 billion. 3,500 people over there, and we haven't even had a floor debate about authorizing it. And secondly, we're supposed to provide the budgetary support for the DOD and the other important priorities. We're not providing a budget that meaningfully funds not only the operation against ISIL, but the DOD, because we're relying on gimmicks, whether it's a continuing resolution or in the new budget that is on the floor, this OCO gimmick, where, we can't admit that the budget caps from 2011 should be lifted. A number of members in the Senate who serve on both the Budget and Armed Services Committees, Senator Graham, Senator Ayotte, Senator King, and I are working to try to find a compromise so that we can avoid the harsh impact of these sequester cuts when they come full force beginning October 1.
Senator Tim Kaine, always good to have you with us, sir. Thanks so much.
Great. Good to be back. Thanks, guys.
All right, let's turn.